Bug Delver, not able to come down yesterday, had a soccer game, had some goalkeeping to do, actually pitched a shutout. His team won 6-0. And then as he was driving down here with his dad, well, a little too fast, picked up a speeding ticket.
I don't know if one pitches a shutout
He pitched a shutout. You don't know anything about soccer.
Some very American slang using that sentence to describe what just happened. Apologies to any European viewers out there.
No, we're going to start by sacrificing Pluto Delta to go get an underground C as our quarterfinals are underway.
Noah's team scored 6 runs en route to a shutout victory.
That's right, at the soccer game. You better believe it. Looks a little short for a goalie. I told him that.
Yeah.
He must be like athletic or something. Here's a Delver. That's a good clock to get things started. I think the plan here for Cohen is much like what we saw the last time we watched him play against Elves. Get a clock going, preferably a Delver, and just, you know, kill stuff.
And I think you hit it right on the head there. It's got to be Delver of Secrets because Elves is pretty good at chump blocking, you know, between, you know, Wirewood Symbiote and just being able to flood the board. You know, the ground is not the most reliable source of getting through damage, so having a flyer is really important.
See Medanic can get set up here on the first turn of the game. It'll be a Deathrite Shaman. Plenty of lands down there to remove, too. But a Daze is going to take care of that. I want to slow it down. Delver's going to flip. Cohen reveals a Ponder. So at least 3 damage is going to be coming across here. Over to Steve's side of things.
But so far, an excellent start for Noah. And this matchup also very play-draw biased, as you are seeing with the start from Noah.
It certainly feels that way, right?
Much worse on the draw.
He's going to cast a Ponder here, consult the grip, see what he wants to do with things. Of course, when we do have updates for you guys on other matches, we will bring them to you. This play has been underway.
So Noah here looking at a him and 2 lands, just trying to determine if he wants the him. It appears he does. Does have the opportunity to shuffle one of those lands next turn. Him to Torak. Not bad against Elves. Some games, Elves kind of plays like a Storm deck where it has Glimpse and needs a lot of tools. Some games it plays closer to Sneak and Show where it's A+B, Natural Order, and some mana.
Cohen going to draw a card. You see Medanic on the last turn just played 2 copies of Wirewood Symbiote. 3 damage is going to come across in the air here for Cohen. Medanic is going to go down at 13. Cohen will sacrifice the Wooded Foothills. He knows there's a bio on top of his deck, so that's what he's going to search for. A little shuffle action here. I think we might see a him.
Yep, and a good way to follow up the Daze on the Deathrite Shaman here, trying to just strip Steven low on resources.
There's the him. So 2 cards are going to be leaving here. Or should I say 1 is staying?
Yes.
Glass half empty, half full.
Be optimistic.
Yeah.
Steve gets to keep a card.
He does.
It's very generous of Noah.
It is quite nice. He got to keep it by you, I believe. Here's an attack for 2, maybe, from the insects. Steve giving it some thought here. Yep, there's your attack. Cohen going to go down to 16. But he does have a copy of Green Sun Zenith. He's going to cast it for 2. That's going to resolve. So it wouldn't be a surprise to see Elvish Visionary show up now.
And if there's any response that the Elf deck has to this kind of opening from Noah, it's what you're seeing right now. Trying to set up Elvish Visionary plus Wirewood Symbiote, draw a bunch of cards, try to recoup some of the lost resources.
Cantrip. Dank will pass the turn back. Cohen does have a copy of Abrupt Decay in his hand. You see the Tarmogoyf as well. Draws a copy of Verdant Catacombs. There's an attack for 3. Yet again from the insect. Medanic down to 10. Cohen with the follow-up in the second main phase will be a Brainstorm. Not a bad follow-up at all. There's 3 cards here for Noah. Delver, and Dark Confidant. 3 very powerful cards.
But Steve's got his own card advantage engine now set up, and one that's a little challenging to break up with Abrupt Decay.
Going to set back 2 cards, sacrifice the Verdant Catacombs. We'll see what land he wants to go get. Wouldn't be surprised if it were a tropical island here. going to mix up those altered Tarmogoyfs. And there is a drop.
I'm actually not a huge fan of getting a Trop here, as he has multiple double black spells in his deck,
Okay,
but no double blue or double green spells.
sure.
He's got him, he's got Liliana. This is a small thing, but the instinct is to spread out your dual lands to make yourself wasteland proof. It's not that kind of matchup here, so I'd rather make sure that I'm never bottlenecked on black mana.
Goyf is the play. I want to see the size of this thing. We know there's a creature, an instant, and a land in the graveyard. I think it might be only a 3/4 right now. It looks to be a 4/5.
Yeah, there's Brainstorm plus Ponder plus a creature plus a land.
Plus a land, sure. Visionary coming in. Little can tripping. Medanic trying to rebuild after his hand got destroyed. He's doing a pretty nice job of it. He's picked up a glimpse. Wirewood as well. There's a Misty. Can sacrifice that, activate Wirewood again to draw another card with Elf Visionary if he'd like.
It's really rough on Steve that he lost Gaia's Cradle to that Hymn of Torak a couple turns ago, because he would be able to go really crazy with the Glimpse in hand plus the Visionary plus the Symbiotes.
Abrupt Decay has been found. Cohen going to serve in here. But down to 7.
I'm surprised Noah didn't bother sending in the Tarmogoyf. I guess he's on pure, you know, try to block as much against a theoretical Craterhoof Behemoth as possible. But it feels like if you send in the Tarmogoyf there, Steve may block, try to bounce the Visionary, and then you may be able to use a removal spell of some sort.
Yeah, you'll be able to use a removal spell on the Wirewood. You're never really going to be able to catch the... you're not going to be able to catch the Visionary at any point.
Sure.
Because with the Wirewood, part of the activation is returning a creature to your hand. So you're going to be able to snag that, but getting those Wirewoods off the board, I think, might be a little more important than Noah's giving it credit for.
Like, I would rather play one Delver and leave up Abrupt Decay.
I would feel safer doing that.
Than the second Delver. Because it's either lethal or it's not the same way.
And now you walk into a pretty scary turn here. There's 2 glimpses. Now here's an Elvish Visionary, so it's going to be drawing 3 cards.
I mean, if there's a Cradle here, amongst these top 3 cards, Steve can start doing some real damage.
And he's going to pick this up, untap that. There's a green mana. He's trying to give himself the best shot to draw a Cradle. 2 draws. Don't think he's found one yet. He's already used that one, so he gets the opportunity to use another one. Yep, return this, untap the Dried Arbor, tap it. Maybe Wirewood's the choice. You're gonna go with the Ranger, okay. 2 more cards. Let's see if he can find a Cradle. Cradle's the best one. Gataxian Probe, okay. See 2 decays.
Nothing.
Yep. Medanic's down to 4. This has got to be the turn. Doesn't look like a Cradle just yet. Corinne Ranger, pick up a forest, untap the Dried Arbor. Still has not played a land yet. There's a Wirewood. Peel 2. No Cradle yet. Activate this, pick up that, untap this, replay that. 2 more cards. 2 copies of Llanowar Elf. Pick up this. Untap that. He knows the mechanics.
Yep.
Still hasn't played a land. You have to imagine he's hoping it's Cradle. Peel 2 more. Hit 1.
Oh, there it
Hit
is.
2. There's a Cradle. He's going in overdrive now. Because that Cradle's going to tap for 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 green mana. That's his land for the turn. Can he finish him off is the question. Because 2 of these Wirewoods can attack this turn.
But I mean, he has the tools at this point to maybe fully go, you know, go and draw his entire deck.
Yeah, he needs to find a card like Heritage Druid at this point. He's got only 2 of those in his deck. There's a green Sun's. Well, I suppose there you go. And this is where he gets to go from 0 to 60. He had to find a Cradle. That was his last attempt at it.
In fairness, he did draw quite a few cards.
Yes, he did. 4 green mana floating. There is Heritage Druid. Gonna be a lot more than that in a minute. does have the ability to cast another Glimpse of Nature if he wants. Start drawing 3 cards per creature. And those are the creatures that can attack. The Dried Arbor and the 2 Wirewoods. However, the Dried Arbor is tapped currently. It's not too tough to untap that as he is displayed.
Yeah.
Dryad Arbor, excuse me, adds such a dimension to this deck.
Interlocks with so many pieces.
Yeah. The tough thing here from Medanic, you saw, he knew exactly what he was trying to accomplish up until getting the Cradle. He looks a little unsure of himself. He hasn't found a natural order at this point.
Well, step 1 was the easy part,
Yeah.
which is cradle or bust. Now that he's here, he needs to figure out what the most efficient way is to try to maximize his chances of winning the game this turn.
It's going to be another Zenith. The Zenith going to be for 1. Nettle Sentinel is what he's going to go grab. 2 mana floating now.
And you had to imagine that if Noah had access to an Abrupt Decay during all of this, that
It's be much different.
something could have happened here. Because Steve just barely got to that cradle.
So here's 3 green. He's up to 5, down to 4. Untap the Nettle Sentinel. Peel 2. Let's go up to 7, down to 6. Peel 2. 6 greens, what's floating? Down to 5, peel 2. This is where it gets ugly. 2 Nettles out there with Heritage Druid means it's basically infinite mana at this point.
Yeah, at this point,
very close to it.
He's net neutral on the 1 mana plays he makes.
There's Deathrite.
Assuming the creature he plays is an elf.
Yeah,
It all
which-
replaces itself.
It generally will be. So he goes from 6 up to 9, down to 8. So he's actually generating mana at this point. Assuming the creature's an elf. He adds 3. -1 is 2. Generating 2 mana each time. Peeling 2 cards. Birchler Ranger will allow him to do some funky things too, if it comes down to it. Can't forget that Birchler Ranger is an elf. Yeah, up to 12, down to 10. 3 cards coming now. He's going through that big old hand. There's a Zenith for a whole bunch. X can equal 8. 8 is great.
So let's see here. Is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 10, 11, 12, 13 mana. So plus, it's a lot.
Oh, you don't have an exact number for me, scientist.
Well, it's, not super important. It's well past lethal.
I'm inclined to agree with
The
you.
Tarmogoyf on defense here is not going to provide much help.
And these are the creatures that can attack. They're gigantic, and that is going to do it. Steve Medanic is going to win this game over Noah Cohen. You can see Noah trying to figure out where he made a mistake. The look on his face. I think it was the inability to hold up that Abrupt Decay mana.
Yeah, so it was for 45. It was for 52, I guess his attack was.
Not impressed, truthfully. Going to take a lot more than that to impress me this evening.
Well, there you go.
Tough crowd.
It's a tough crowd.
That's it.
Shots fired.
You better believe it is. Back here to the booth is where we're going to go. It's trivia time. We're going to ask real dudes. We have a question right here. You got the rules. I got the question.
Cedric will ask you a question in a moment. Tweet your answer at SCG Live, hashtag SCG Premium. Of the correct responses, one will be selected for 3 free months of Star City Games premium content. And please keep in mind that this giveaway is run at the sole discretion of StarCityGames.com and that Twitch TV is in no way affiliated with giveaways on his stream.
There's a sweet gold creature in Steve Medanic's deck that he can natural order for. I'm pretty sure. Yeah, I mean, Deathrite Shaman is a multicolored creature, but this is a gold creature. I think once you take a look at his deck list, you'll know exactly what I mean. It's a 6/6. That's my hint. If you can name it, hashtag the answer with the hashtag SCG Premium. Make sure you're following SCG Live, and we will announce the winner at the conclusion of our quarterfinal round as we do head back to the match and take a look at the sideboards. Now you will see that Noah Cohen does have 2 Grafdigger's Cage, a Tombstalker, a Diabolic Edict, 3 copies of Disfigure, 2 Flusterstorm, 2 Golgari Charm, Crossing Grip, Spell Pierce, Medillion Click, Thoughtseize. Gotta love the charms and the disfigures.
I think most of the disruption here, whether it's, out of Steve's hand or creatures in play, Noah's going to want all of it. So the 2 copies of Grafdigger's Cage, very good against Natural Order Green Sun Zenith. The 3 copies of Disfigure and the 2 Golgari Charms, very efficient removal. I think the Vendilion Click and the Thoughtseize are also reasonable here. I think Diabolic Edict may be a little too low in impact, but with Noah on the play, it's more justifiable than if it's on the draw.
Medanic has 4 copies of Blood Moon, 3 Abrupt Decays, a Progenitus, 3 Cabal Therapy, a Natural Order, and 3 copies of Thoughtseize. A much different sideboard than we're accustomed to seeing in the hands of someone like Ross Marion, but those Blood Moons play a huge role in this matchup.
I really like setting in all 4 copies of Blood Moon because Noah's deck ceases to function if it enters play. I don't know if Steve is going to want to bring in the discard spells as well. He could try to convert into just a force through Blood Moon plan. But I don't think he's going to want to dilute that much of his combo. I think he'll just bring in the Blood Moons. If it resolves, sweet. And if not, that's fine. He can still win in much the same fashion we saw in Game 1.
And just the threat of it is something that Cohen has to be scared of at this point. When he's sideboarding, of course, both players get to look at each other's deck lists, and that's a really big deal. But, for Cohen, he might have to sideboard a little bit differently than he normally would, seeing that those 4 Blood Moons are there, even the lands that he searches up. Well, I suppose they can't be too much different because he doesn't have basics, but it'll definitely change the way he has to play the game.
For example, on turn 2, you're on the draw. Are you going to tap out for that Tarmogoyf, or are you going to be holding up Abrupt Decay mana?
Mm-hmm.
That's a huge cost to pay if you are leaving up Abrupt Decay, but if Noah elects not to, then he just loses the game outright to Blood Moon. So it's a challenging squeeze he's being put in. And Steve also playing with 4 copies of Gitaxian Probe to know if the coast is clear.
Yep, definitely true. Should be kind of interesting. Do like Probe in this deck a little bit. It may have helped him get there on that last turn.
It's funny, it did actually, because it was a 0-mana cantrip.
Yeah.
The last card he drew was the Cradle. It's funny because this is one of the very few decks in Legacy where I would question having Gitaxian Probe because the deck wants to be very elf dense and so forth.
You'll come around.
I came up to Steve after his feature match that he won, and we were talking for a little bit about the match he just played. And Steve said to me, "Oh, and thank you for saying the praises about Gitaxian Probe for the last year. I had 4 of them in my deck, and they've been totally sweet." So
there you go.
I may have had a hand in it, even though I'm not 100% sure I believe in it.
Other matches for you guys very quickly. Our 1 seed Al Carabel playing Esper Stoneblades against Joe Bernal. That's our 8 seed playing Blue White Red Miracles. We've got Jamie Sheffer playing against Elijah Bishop, Death and Taxes against Esper Deathblade, and then Andrew Kanalakin playing Death and Taxes against Dylan Jones playing Sneak and Show. That's our 2 versus 7. When we do have updates for you guys on any of those matches, we will of course let you know, as I know there are some fans at home rooting for some people here. And we have Kanalikin up game 1 over Dylan Jones. Death and Taxes up a game against Sneak and Show. Not all that surprising.
Yeah, again, the games you're on the draw with Death and Taxes. You got to cross your fingers because you can lose the game on turn 1 or on turn 2 before you have your shields up. But if they don't have their best possible draw, you can really start taking advantage of all of your powerful reactive elements.
For Bernal, again, this is his 12th Open Series top 8. For Cohen, his 2nd. For Dylan Jones, his 4th. Jones is in the same car as Thomas Graves, our standard Open champion, along with Caleb Williams as well. Every member of their car did top 8 in Open Series event this week. And so congratulations to the happy group from Louisville. They can ride back with a smile on their face.
Very nice weekend. I like, it's sort of cool to add Blood Moon to the sideboard of Elves. If you watch Ross play, for example, a lot of the discard spells, the Abrupt Decays, they're purely reactive. They're sort of trying to fight what the opponent does. Blood Moon gives Steve the option to just cheat a whole class of matchups where he no longer has to be reacting to what they're doing, but rather they had to react to what he's doing in the post-board games.
Al Carabel does win game number 1 here over Joe Bernal, so Esper Stoneblade very quickly up a game over Blue White Red Miracles. Again, kind of ironic, Bernal is known for playing Esper Stoneblade in basically every format.
And decided to put it on the shelf for this weekend and being rewarded.
Well, he did make top 8 with Miracles. Can't complain about that.
Yep, snuck in as the 8th seed on Breakers. And for Steve, if he wins this matchup, I'm not thrilled about the matchup waiting for him, no matter who gets out of that top 8 match.
I wouldn't be thrilled.
Yeah.
Esper Stoneblade or Miracles.
Bunch of spot removal spells, Numasawa's Jitte, or Terminus and Counterbalance, your choice.
Yep. For Noah, I wouldn't mind either one of those matchups.
Yeah,
that's close.
Definitely. I mean, I would definitely rather play against Miracles than Esper, I believe, but I think Noah would take either one of those matchups.
Yeah, I think so.
He's got to get through this one first, and facing down 4x Blood Moon out of Elves. That's going to be tough.
Cohen, a player who's starting to travel to a lot of Open Series events, though. You can definitely tell. Loves Magic. I think his dad is the one who owns Nerd Rage Gaming.
Yep. Very supportive.
Yep. His dad's actually there behind Steve, if you guys can see him with the hoodie on, watching his son do battle. It's pretty awesome to see now.
Very supportive of his son's athletic and magic-related activities.
I think more supportive of the Magic, since he does own a game store, after all.
And I've never watched him play, but I believe Noah probably has more of a future in professional Magic than in professional soccer.
He's getting pretty good.
Yeah, he's getting pretty good.
He's young. He's always kind of looking to learn, see what mistakes he made. It's definitely fun to watch. He's a pretty young kid, though. I think he's either 16 or 17.
Very composed.
Yeah. Misty Rainforest is what Medanic will sacrifice. It's a forest that he will go get. Not surprising to see him get a basic, given that he does have Blood Moon in his deck after sideboard, we presume. Wirewood Symbiotic card that caused a lot of trouble in the last game has shown up to the party.
And a good rule of thumb for playing against elves is kill this thing.
Yeah, here's a Brainstorm. 2 and 3. So Brainstorm, Ponder, and a Bayou are the cards that are drawn. One card goes back. We'll make it 2. And the second one is what Cohen will draw. So Polluted Delta has been added to the grip. This is a Ponder, so a lot of setup here for Noah so far. See Flusterstorm on the cards he's looking at. Looks like the third card is a Disfigure, potentially.
I am not thrilled with bringing in Flusterstorm in this matchup.
I don't love it. I feel like a lot has to go right for it to be good.
Yeah, it's going to have its moments. But the fight is primarily over creatures and over Blood Moon, and Flusterstorm provides resistance against neither. It will have moments, particularly against Natural Order. Green Sun Zenith early on in the game, but pretty big risk that card does very little.
Gonna take the Disfigure. Polluted Delta is the land that's played. Gonna pass a turn back. Situation here for me, don't get too cute. Wirewood caused a lot of trouble in the last game. He will take one, it looks like.
Does not appear that Blood Moon is in Steve's hand.
There's Cradle. There's a Deathrite. Looks like that's gonna resolve. Now there's an Elvish Visionary. Draw a card. And now Blood Moon's there.
There it is.
We'll sacrifice this right away.
Now it does appear that Noah has Force of Will in hand. But it says a lot about the value of the sideboard card that the worst case scenario for Steve is it trades with a counterspell.
And another card.
Yeah. Best case scenario is Noah's picking up his cards and extending the hand.
Bayou is the weapon of choice. As he does consult the hand. I still think you do have to fire off this Disfigure right away on this Wirewood. It's just too important to their deck. It causes too much trouble. We saw that in game number 1.
And in fact, this probably should have happened in response to the Visionary. I don't know if we're at the end of the turn or if it's still in the stack, but
Looks like we're at the end of turn. All right, you got to get that off the table. So that Wirewood dealt 1 point of damage. Additionally, it generated some mana for Cradle, too.
yeah. Now, I think that Noah may have Golgari Charm in his hand and was trying to set up a scenario where he traps a bunch of one-toughness stuff.
Yeah.
But to me, the Golgari Charm is going to be good somewhere down the line. You don't have to work too hard to set it up, and allowing Steve to have these development turns pretty dangerous early on.
Yeah, the one thing is Charm, as you mentioned, is going to be good no matter what. Charm doesn't have to get, 7 cards.
Right.
If it gets 2 or 3 cards, it's done its job. There's a Delver of Secrets. Heck, it can trade with 1 card and be good. So Medanic wants to put together here on his 3rd turn. Cradle can provide a lot of mana. There's a Verdant Catacombs. Oof, oof,
Whoa, whoa,
ooh.
whoa, slow down.
There we go. Nettle Sentinel. Steve almost misclicked there. be
Blood
bad.
Moon, huh? All right, Nettle Sentinel resolves.
Yeah.
Now, I don't think that Noah has a
I
blue card.
don't know if it's a blue card, yeah. Steve's going to sacrifice this Verdant Catacombs. If that's the case, Steve gets a pretty quick win here,
Yeah,
probably.
I'm looking at Golgari Charm, Force of Will, Dark Confidant Land, I think.
Deathrite's going to remove. I have a feeling he said red.
Yep.
Cradle for 3. Blood Moon. Yeah, and he's going to
There it
extend the
is.
hand right there. Steve Medanic's going to win this match over Noah Cohen. 2-0. Elves is moving on to our next match. It doesn't look like it's an easy one there for Steve, but that Blood Moon in the sideboard ended up playing a huge role, and for him, semifinals is where he's headed.
Yeah, it's, Steve with his setup post board, you can see the kind of look on his face. Yep, this is what it does.
Yep.
It's not any part of the Elves' primary game plan, but there's enough decks in Legacy that just fold to it if your opponent's not expecting it. Noah had full information on the deck list, too. It's not like he got caught off guard in the sense that he didn't see it coming. I'm sure Steve got all sorts of opponents over the course of the day that had no idea this was part of his deck whatsoever. And you just get to cheat a lot of matchups in Legacy. We see it all the time, usually in these Imperial Painter lists and so forth, but Steve incorporating in Elves and gets kind of a free pass to the semifinals as a result of having it in his deck.
Yeah, some slight missteps there from Cohen in that game. Don't really love the way he played game number 2. The disfigure, just the timing of it after Wirewood gets a little bit of an advantage there, and just trying to build up to a large crescendo with Golgari Charm.
I think that Noah, kind of in this macro sense, understands what the matchup's about, but in a micro sense, failed at the execution of certain things.
Yeah.
But that's a learning experience, Legacy is a very complicated format, and you just have to get the reps in.
Yeah,
So
you see he's kind of showing exactly to Steve what he sideboarded in and out, all that good stuff. So does get the opportunity to learn from this loss against Elves, even though he did beat it once in the day, but this is a much more different Elves deck than we've seen.
4x Blood Moon